Okay, what I want to do is a detailed example of combat and combat resolution with a little bit of psychology thrown in. I'm throwing around terms like active CR or static CR and stuff like that, so I thought I'd just take a moment to explain. What I mean by static CR is the combat resolution that your unit gets if it does nothing at all. It's usually found bigger units are going to have a higher static CR. You get static CR from having a standard bearer, from having rank bonus, from having a battle standard, and you can also get it from outnumbering. That's why these static units that rely on static CR to win are going to be oftentimes bigger. Active CR units are units that get their combat resolution from killing the other models, where you get +1 for each wound that you do. Well, that's what they rely on. You'll typically see them as being smaller, more elite units. I've taken to the habit of fielding them 6 wide so that you can try and get that extra attack in there, since you're not as concerned about having them deep and having rank bonus. So let's get started. Here we have a hypothetical battle here. This is some theory hammer at its finest with some math hammer thrown in. I'm just going to go with average rolls for everything. It's the Beastman player's turn. The Bestigors are going to declare a charge on the Bloodletters here. They've got a 10-inch charge range, and we've measured it, and they are in charge range. What they need to do is take a psychology test. The Bloodletters cause fear. So they've got the Mark of Chaos Undivided. It's against a 7 leadership. They'll be able to reroll. And if they didn't make it, this would be a very boring example. So let's go ahead and move them in to close combat, maximizing the number of models that get in there. So now the Bestigors are going to get to strike first because they charge. You don't look at initiative. The Bloodletters don't have any rule that lets them always strike first. So they have great weapons. Normally they would go last regardless of initiative. So they take their swings. They're going to get 5 attacks. I don't have any champions or heroes or anything in here, just trying to keep it simple. Of those, 2.5 are going to hit, 2.08 wound, and so that results in 1.38 failed saves for the Bloodletters. So we pull one out. So now the Bloodletters get to strike back. Now, since they've already taken 1 casualty, 1 fewer model's going to be able to strike. So they're only going to get 5 attacks back in there. So those hit on 3s. They'll get about 3.3 hits, 2.2 of those a wound. And since they're strength 5 and the Bestigors have heavy armor, they're not going to get any saves whatsoever. So 2 of those models get pulled off. So now we calculate our combat resolution. What I like to do is take dice, different colors for each side, and the Bloodletters did 2 wounds versus the Bestigors 1 wound. I have done this somewhat out of sequence, as you'll see in the next game turn. Your rank bonus is calculated based on the number of models you had at the beginning of combat. That's why for casualties this round, keep them close by. Don't go putting them in your miniatures case yet. So we can see that at the beginning of combat, these guys would have been there, and we would have had a 3 rank bonus. That takes their side up to 4. They have a standard bearer as well, 5, and they clearly outnumber the Bloodletters. Puts them at 6. Back to the Bloodletters. They have a 1 rank bonus, and then they have a standard bearer as well. So now the Bloodletters have lost this particular combat by 2. You subtract the 4 from the 6, or you could say that these guys have won by 2. So let's say they take their instability test and they roll average on it, which is a 7. With their 7 leadership, they will lose 2 more models. So the combat is over. You can move away all the models. And then we go on with the next turn. Now the next turn is the Demons player's turn. And he has this unit of Flesh Hounds over here. And you get down and look, and they're clearly in the flank of this unit. Do they have line of sight? Well, let's just assume they do. So then they charge in here. So now, Flesh Hounds cause fear. The Bestigors should have to take a fear test, shouldn't they? No, look at your rules for psychology. If a unit is engaged in close combat, it does not have to take the psychology test. So they get a free pass this turn. But what's going to happen now is the Flesh Hounds are going to attack. Now, just for illustrative purposes, this is a unit of 3. We can assume that they lost a couple of models earlier. They have to be fielded in a unit of 5. And with the 12 Bloodletters and 3 Flesh Hounds, it's roughly equal points value with the Bestigors. So they get to go ahead and go first. They're going to cause 3 hits, with 2 wounds, and that's going to mean 2 dead Bestigors here. Now we go in initiative order, and so that means the Bloodletters get a go, because their initiative is 4 and the Bestigors are 3, but the Bestigors have great weapons, so it's not really necessary, but it's a good thing to get into the habit of going through the steps each and every time to get familiar with them. The Bloodletters have 6 attacks, 4 of those are going to hit, cost 2.6 wounds. That means we have 2 more dead. So now we get to the Bestigors attacking back. Now there's really, when you look at how to do this in the book, they don't really give a good example. Maybe I should have removed that guy from over here. They would have 5 guys eligible to attack the Bloodletters, 3 guys eligible to attack the Fleshhounds. However, 4 have died. I've heard people that do it, well, there's 7 models, so you only get, since 4 have died, you get 3 attacks back and you get to pick where they're going to go. I like to think of it as, well, these guys cause 2 casualties, so at most 1 guy can attack the Fleshhounds back. These guys cause 2 casualties, so at most 3 could attack back. But as I said, the maximum number of attacks we're going to get back here is 3. So let's go ahead and put 2 on the Bloodletters, 1 on the Fleshhound. The way the math's going to work out there, the Fleshhound, if he gets wounded, is probably going to make a save. But let's just say that 1 of the Bloodletters dies. So now we go ahead and calculate this up. Now, remember when I said that rank bonus is figured at the start of the combat? Well, they have a unit in their flank. What's the unit strength of this unit? These are cavalry models, so it's 2 each. This is unit strength 6. If you have a unit strength 5 or more in your flank at the beginning of combat, you're not going to have your rank bonus. So these guys are going to lose out on their rank bonus. So what do they get? Well, they get 1 for their standard, and then they're going to have 1 for killing that Bloodletter, and then they've got 14 left. I guess these guys are tied because the Bloodletters have, what do we got there? 8 left, plus the 6 that we just figured out. So there isn't going to be any outnumbering bonus, so they get a 2. Now, there's a bonus for being in someone's flank, but you calculate that after everyone has struck blows. If they're unit strength 5 or more, they'll get the +1 bonus for being in the flank, which they do because they are unit strength 6. Now note that skirmishers have different rules. You want to take a look at them. I'm not getting into that. Skirmishers play a little bit differently. They're not going to be negating the rank bonus of units. Then this side caused 4 wounds. That puts them up to 5. And then they have a standard involved in the combat, so 6. So this side lost by a bigger margin there. They lost by 4. But note that had they had their static combat resolution and not been charged in the flank, this could have ended up being a draw. This would have gone down to a 5, and then they would have had their rank. Well, I guess they wouldn't have the rear. It would have been a lot closer, though. So that's just an example of how this has to work. The Bestigors are probably going to be running. They're only leadership 7. They're testing at a -4, so they need a 3 or a 2. Good luck with that. So that's just some of the nuances of combat. Take a look at the combat result bonus table on page 38. That really breaks it down for you. But keep in mind that the extra ranks are negated based on the strength of the unit in the flank or the rear at the beginning of combat before blows have been struck. But then you look at their unit strength after blows have been struck to determine whether they get the flank attack bonus or the rear bonus.